Hi, this is the History of Israel podcast, an Eat My Own Beat podcast. Over the coming weeks, months, and years, we'll be discussing the history of Israel. This is not a podcast to say which side is right, which side is wrong. It's not a podcast to talk about the war which is happening in Palestine. It's just simply the history of Israel.
Welcome back to episode 30 of the History of Israel podcast. Laity versus clergy. Within the recently legitimized Christian community of the 4th century, a division could be more distinctly seen between laity and the increasingly celibate male leadership. These men presented themselves as removed from the traditional Roman motivations of public and private life, marked by pride, ambition, kinship, solidarity, and differing from the married pagan leadership. Unlike later strictures on priestly celibacy, celibacy in the late antique Christianity sometimes took the form of abstinence from sexual relations after marriage, and it became to be expected norm for urban clergy. Celibate and detached, the upper clergy became an elite equal in prestige to urban notables and potentates of or dynatoi. The rise of Islam. Islam appeared in the 7th century, spurring Arab armies to invade Eastern Roman Empire and the Sassanian Empire of Persia, destroying the latter. After conquering all of North Africa and the Visigoth Spain, the Islamic invasion was halted by Charles Martel of the Battle of Tours in modern France. On the rise of Islam, two mains these prevail. On the one hand, there is a traditional view of the espoused by most historians prior to the second half of the 20th century, and after and by the Muslim scholars. This so-called view out of Arabia thesis holds to Islam as a phenomenon was a new alien element in the late antique world. Related to this is the Pyrenean thesis, according to which the Arab invasions marked, through the conquest and disruption of the Mediterranean trade routes, the cataclysmic end of late antiquity and the beginning of the Middle Ages. On the other hand, there is more recent thesis associated with scholars in the tradition of Peter Brown, in which the Islam is seen to be the product of the late antique world, no foreign to it. The school suggests that its origin within the shared cultural horizon of the late antique world explains the character of Islam and its development. Such historians point to the similarities which other late antique religions and philosophies, especially Christianity, in the predominant role and manifestations of piety in Islam. In Islamic asceticism and the role of holy persons in the pattern of universalist, homogeneous monotheism tied to the worldly and military power. An early Islamic engagement with the Greek schools of thought and the apocalypticism of Islamic ideology and the way of the Quran seems to react to contemporary religious and cultural issues shared by the late antique world at large. Further, indication that Arabia, and thus the environment in which Islam first developed, was a part of the late antique world and is found in the close economic and military relations between Arabia and the Byzantine Empire and the Sassanian Empire. In recent years, the period of the late antiquity has become a major focus in the fields of Quranic studies and Islamic origins.
This has been the History of Israel podcast. Check back every Wednesday for new episodes. We're available on Apple, iTunes, Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify. We also have each episode streaming on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. We're available on eatmyownbeat.com as well as the History of Israel podcast on Facebook.